Welcome to Essere Donna a Pompei, where the past erupts and the women of Pompeii finally speak. Eruption of revelation. For centuries, the women of Pompeii were buried in silence, their stories lost beneath the ash. Now, their discoveries bring them back to life. This is Essere Donna a Pompei, a journey into power, beauty, and survival. Here, the matron rules her home like a small empire. The freedwoman runs her business with skill and courage. The prostitute becomes a symbol of desire and independence. And in the temples, priestesses bridge the word between humans and gods. These women lived with strength and risk. They gave birth, managed money, educated children, and shaped public life, often from the shadows. Every wall painting, every inscription, every jewel tells part of their truth. They were powerful in quiet, clever, and surprising ways. In the domestic space, in the marketplace, in the sacred rituals, they left marks that still speak today. And beyond the ashes, we can see them again, not as victims of disaster, but as witnesses of life. Pompeii reveals a world between obedience and rebellion, tradition and freedom. Their presence, once hidden, now shines again. These exhibitions gives voice to their silence. It reminds us that history is not only written by men, it is also written and whispered by women who refuse to disappear. So welcome again to Essere Donna Pompei, where the past erupts and the women of Pompeii finally speaks. In the following segments, you will hear the AI voices I instructed with the official documents in order to give you an in-depth review. Stay tuned. Simona Cochi, The Italian Way.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into a really significant scholarly exhibition happening at the Archaeological Park of Pompeii, Essere Donna nell'antica Pompei. That's being a woman in ancient Pompeii.
Right. And it's much more than just, putting artifacts on display. It's a huge academic project.
Definitely feels that way.
It really is. And our goal for you today really is to quickly synthesize the rigorous scientific foundation and the heavy institutional backing behind this whole thing.
Okay.
We're focusing on how these scholars working with the park are finally leveraging Pompeii's its unique preservation to challenge centuries of historical silence about women in Roman society.
Right, that historical silence is key. So that's our mission for this deep dive, and we're planning to guide you through the source material using that clear framework of, the who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Exactly, to give you a really solid grasp of why this exhibition matters so much.
So let's start with the foundation. The who. Who's behind this?
Well, institutionally, it's hosted by the Archaeological Park of Pompeii itself, and it has direct oversight from the Director General Gabriel Zuchtriegel. So, top-level involvement.
That signals its importance straight away.
Oh.
And the scientific direction.
Very high level. It's curated by two really distinguished professors, Francesca Gaddini and Monica Salvadori.
Okay.
But what makes this, I think, particularly robust is the collaboration. It's not just the park. It involves the universities of Padua, Salerno, and Verona.
Ah, so a big team effort, bringing in different kinds of expertise.
Precisely. You've got archaeology, social history, even legal studies feeding into it. It creates a much more, let's say, transversal project team. It's not just looking at pots and pans.
It connects the artifacts to the actual social fabric.
Exactly. The complex realities of these women's lives.
Okay, so that's the who. What about the when and where?
The timeline, the when, is pretty straightforward. It runs from April 16th, 2025 through to January 31st, 2026.
Right. And the where. You mentioned it's at the park, but it sounds like it's more than just one gallery.
Yes, that's a crucial point. The main hub, the primary venue, is the Palestra Grande, the Great Palestra.
Okay.
But, and this is important, they've designed it as a distributed cultural experience.
Distributed, meaning?
Meaning the exhibition narrative doesn't just stay within the walls of the Palestra, it extends out. There are thematic links signaled across the entire archaeological site.
Oh, interesting. So you might see something in the main exhibit and then go find the actual house or building it relates to.
Precisely. The whole park becomes part of the exhibition space. You're literally walking through the context where these women lived, worked, and died.
That makes it much more immersive. Okay, so that covers the basics. But the core question, the why. Why Pompeii? Why is this the place for such a deep dive into women's lives?
Right, the why. Well, you often hear how difficult it is to reconstruct the lives of women in antiquity. There's a real scarcity of testimony, especially from women themselves.
Those pages of silence, pagina di silenzio, scholars call it.
Exactly. Most of what we have was written by, and often for, elite men. So the perspective is inherently skewed.
But Pompeii is different.
Pompeii is the exception. Its catastrophic preservation, the sheer volume of material frozen in time, makes it this unique, this privileged observatory, as the exhibition frames it.
Privileged because the evidence is so detailed, so everyday.
Yes, it's granular. You get more than just grand narratives. You get inscriptions, graffiti, business records, funerary monuments, the layout of homes, everyday objects. It's much less filtered than, say, literature or formal histories.
Which allows the exhibition to tackle that historical silence head-on.
Precisely. That's its main purpose, to challenge the silence by documenting all the different categories of women, not just the wealthy wives.
So who are we talking about?
Well, you have the high-status matrons, the matron, of course, but crucially, they also document the freedwomen, liberté women who were formerly enslaved.
Right.
And significantly, the enslaved women themselves, the sadaf, who are often completely invisible in traditional accounts.
And it covers their whole lives.
Yes, that's another key aspect. It looks at all the life phases: birth, childhood, education such as it was, marriage, motherhood, work, religion, right through to death and commemoration.
It makes you wonder, though, if all this evidence was there, this granularity, why the long silence? Why has it taken until now for a major exhibition like this?
That's a really important question, and I think the exhibition implicitly addresses it. Part of it is about the evolution of scholarship itself. Earlier archaeology often focused on, big public buildings, politics, military matters.
Things traditionally associated with men.
Exactly. And the interpretation of evidence was often done through a male-centric lens. Objects or inscriptions related to women might have been overlooked, misinterpreted, or just deemed less important.
So this represents a conscious shift, asking different questions of the evidence.
Absolutely. It's about actively looking for the stories that weren't told, focusing on who was not represented in the histories we've constructed previously.
Okay, so let's get into the what. What does the exhibition actually show us? What kind of evidence are we seeing?
It's structured into 8 main sections, and the range of material evidence is really diverse. You have stunning frescoes, portraits, both private ones from homes, and funerary reliefs inscriptions, graffiti, like we mentioned.
And everyday objects, too.
Yes, absolutely. Things related to the mundus muliebris.
The world of women.
Right. Tools, weaving implements, cosmetic containers, mirrors, jewelry, the items that shape their daily existence. But it goes far beyond just the domestic sphere.
Oh, so?
It reveals the complexity of their roles in society and the economy. On one end of the spectrum, you have these high-status matrons.
The ones with wealth and influence.
Yes, and the exhibition really highlights their involvement in something called evergetism.
Evergetism, can you explain that?
Sure. It basically means performing public benefactions, acting as a benefactor to the community. So, funding public buildings, sponsoring games, things like that.
Things we usually associate with powerful men in the Roman world.
Exactly. But women like Eumakia, who funded a huge, magnificent building right in the Pompei Forum, used evergetism as a way to gain significant public visibility and social clout, even without formal political office.
Yeah, so they were shaping the city's landscape and public life.
Definitely. But then the exhibition contrasts this with the huge population of working women.
Right. Not everyone was Eumakia.
Far from it. The evidence documents women in all sorts of trades. Weavers and spinners, obviously filatrici, tessitrici, but also bakers, panificatrici, tavern keepers like Asalina, whom we know from inscriptions.
And even doctors?
Yes. There's evidence for female doctors, which
Sure.
might surprise some people. And of course, it doesn't shy away from the less comfortable realities, like the large numbers of women involved in sex work, many of whom were enslaved.
So it presents a really broad spectrum of female experience.
It does. And that complexity extends to their inner lives, too, which brings us to a really fascinating recent discovery they've included.
New research feeding directly into the exhibit.
Yes, exactly. It involves a major wall painting, a megalography, found recently in the Casa del Tiasso in Region 9.
Okay, what does it show?
It depicts a scene connected to Dionysian rites or mysteries. And director Zuchtriegel has offered this really insightful analysis of it, focusing on the central figure of a woman being initiated to the initianda.
And what's the insight?
He points out this incredible tension in her portrayal. She seems suspended, almost caught, between two potential paths, two archetypes.
Which are?
On one side, there's the wild, ecstatic bacchante representing the world of Dionysus, emotion, maybe even transgression. On the other, there's the ideal of the composed, domestic matron, perhaps linked more to Aphrodite's realm of marriage and order.
So she embodies this conflict, or this choice.
Or maybe the coexistence of both within one life. It challenges the simple binary we often impose, the idea that Roman women were either the virtuous wife or the marginalized other.
It suggests a much more complex reality.
Exactly. This painting captures that ambiguity, that sort of liminal space. And the exhibition uses it brilliantly to make the point that, look, we're still learning. The final word on what it meant to be a woman in Pompeii, it definitely hasn't been written yet.
That dynamism, the sense that the research is ongoing, seems built into the exhibition structure too. Which brings us to how the curatorial methods. You mentioned it's not just in the Palestra Grande.
Right, that site-specific integration is key. The Palestra is like the anchor, but the themes radiate outwards. Specific buildings around the site, like the famous Casa dei Viti or the Pradia di Giulia Felice, a large property owned by a woman, are linked back to the exhibition's narrative.
Because you connect the objects to the places.
Yes. It makes the experience much richer, much more spatial.
And they're using technology too.
They are, specifically the My Pompeii app. They've developed thematic podcasts within the app that tell the stories of 8 specific historical women from Pompeii.
So bringing individuals to life.
Exactly. You get to hear about Eumachia, the public benefactor we mentioned, or Asalina, the tavern owner whose campaign slogans were found painted on her walls.
Right. Showing her political engagement.
Exactly. It moves beyond just artifacts and inscriptions to focus on these real individuals with names, businesses, social connections. It really helps to humanize the history.
That sounds incredibly effective. And I read something about showing the restoration process itself.
Yes. That's another really innovative aspect, highlighting their commitment to scientific transparency. It's called Restauro in Vitrina.
Restoration in a showcase.
Literally, yes.
Yeah.
They are actually carrying out the conservation work on a significant piece, a high-relief funerary monument from the necropolis outside the Porta Sarno, right there, in public view.
Wow. So visitors can actually watch the restorers at work.
Yes. You see the painstaking, meticulous process, the daily effort involved in preserving and understanding these artifacts. It demystifies the science and underlines the integrity of the whole project.
That's a brilliant way to connect the public to the behind-the-scenes work. Are there other public engagement elements?
There are. They have plans for special evening openings called Isa Pop, scheduled for September. These will include artistic readings and performances specifically focused on the women featured in the exhibition.
So really bringing their stories alive through performance too. Okay, there's one more major component, isn't there? Honoring the women who came after Pompeii's destruction.
Yes, the final section shifts focus to contemporary reflection, and specifically, it pays tribute to the pioneering female archaeologists and scholars who were instrumental in uncovering and understanding Pompeii.
A crucial link, connecting the ancient women to the modern women who helped rediscover their world.
Absolutely. It acknowledges that the study of Pompeii hasn't always been a male domain, even if it often seemed that way.
Who are some of the key figures they highlight?
Well, it goes way back. They start with Carolina Bonaparte, Napoleon's sister, who was Queen of Naples back in 1808.
What was her contribution?
She really pushed for more organized, systematic excavation instead of just treasure hunting. She helped trace the city walls, and crucially, she proposed the logical system of naming streets and numbering houses, the grid system.
Wait, The system Fiorelli later implemented and got famous for.
The very same.
Hey.
She proposed the core idea decades earlier, a classic example, perhaps, of a woman's contribution being overshadowed.
Incredible. Who else?
Then there's Tatiana Warscher, working after 1923. She undertook the first really systematic photographic and graphic survey of the site.
Documenting everything meticulously.
Yes, compiling this incredible resource called the Codex Topographicus Pompeianensis. Basically detailed notebooks with photos and drawings of buildings.
How important did that turn out to be?
Immensely important, because when Allied bombs hit Pompeii in 1943 and destroyed or damaged many buildings, Warscher's codex was, in some cases, the only record left of what had been there. Her work preserved knowledge that would have been lost forever.
Wow, an invaluable record.
Truly. Then you have Olga Elia, who was actually director of excavations in 1940, a very rare position for a woman at that time. She's known for her incredibly careful work cataloging wall paintings, understanding their context and decorative schemes.
Bringing order to the artistic discoveries.
Exactly. And finally, they highlight Wilhelmina Jastrzębski. Her work, starting after 1955, completely changed how we see Pompeii's environment.
She focused on the gardens, right?
Yes. She pioneered the technique of making plaster casts of the cavities left by plant roots in the volcanic soil.
To figure out what was actually growing there.
Precisely. She identified species, mapped out vineyards, kitchen gardens, ornamental gardens. Her research led to the understanding that something like 20% of the excavated city area was actually green space. She essentially added color and life back into our picture of the city.
These women laid so much of the groundwork for an exhibition like this. It feels right to honor them.
It does. It connects the past and the present narratives perfectly.
So summing up, this exhibition, Essere Donna nell'antica Pompei, it's really operating on multiple levels. It's historical, it's archaeological, it's even touching on legal and anthropological aspects.
Absolutely. It's deeply multidisciplinary. And the result is, I think, a significant contribution not just to Pompeian studies, but to our broader understanding of the Roman world and women's roles within it.
And it feels like it has a clear contemporary purpose, too.
Very much so. It uses the unique lens of Pompeii's history to engage directly with the ongoing contemporary discussion around gender equality, parità di genere, as they say in Italian. It shows that understanding the past is directly relevant to shaping a more equitable present.
A powerful reminder that history isn't just about the past. It informs today.
Definitely. And maybe one final thought to leave you with, something the exhibition touches on. It's about how we see these women, even through popular culture. Think about how women in Pompeii have been portrayed in films. In early silent movies, they were often just tragic victims needing rescue. But as filmmaking evolved, especially with sound, the portrayals became more complex, more nuanced, showing agency, conflict, individuality.
So our cinematic view reflects our changing understanding.
Exactly. It mirrors our own evolving societal and cultural ideas about women. It underscores that interpreting the past, figuring out who these people were, it's not a static process. It changes as we change, as the questions we ask evolve. The conversation is always ongoing.
A really profound point to end on. Our view of the past is always under construction.
Indeed.
Thank you. That was a fantastic deep dive.
This review has been researched, analyzed, and produced by Simona Cochi, digital journalist and producer from The Italian Way, an expert in the field of digital valorization of arts and heritage who curated and authored the contents of this review.